We're in people, and this is the recruitment plan. We're going to go deep into the importance of hiring the right people for your business. We're going to go into creating accurate and compelling job descriptions, the best practices for screening and interviewing candidates, and making the final hiring decision, and also extending some job offers and negotiations. So, this is going to be pretty content heavy, but bear with me, grab a coffee if you need, but let's get straight into it. So we're going to look at the impact of employees on the business success and culture. I think everybody knows, and it goes almost without saying, but I'm going to repeat it one more time, that employees are arguably the most valuable asset of any business. They directly contribute to the productivity, the profitability, and the reputation of your company. In addition to performing their design roles, employees interact with customers, they represent the customer externally, they contribute to the innovation and the improvement of products, services, and your processes. Employees play a critical role in shaping the company culture. They bring diverse skills, experiences, perspectives that influence the work environment, team dynamics, and values of your company. And a positive, inclusive, and high-performance culture can attract better talent, can boost your employee engagement of your existing team, can increase the retention so you don't have to go down the hiring path too often and you don't lose great talent, and ultimately drive your business success. Now, the cost of a bad hire. So we just rattled off quickly there what happens with the good people, the great people on your team. There is also costs of a bad hire. So hiring the wrong person for a job can cost your business in cash and resources. So first, there's the direct costs associated with recruitment, with onboarding, with training, which are all wasted if the hire turns out to be a poor fit. But the cost of a bad hire extends beyond the direct expenses as well. So a poor performing employee, somebody who brought onto the team who doesn't actually fit well, they can lower the productivity and morale of the rest of the team, leading to reduced output and increased turnover. They can also negatively impact the company's relationships with customers, their partners, other people in the company, even your subbies. They can also be a detriment to getting good reviews as well. And if the bad hire is in a leadership position, they can disrupt the whole company culture, the strategic direction, and overall performance. It is absolutely crucial for your business to invest in resources in the effective recruitment and selection process to minimize bad hires. That is exactly why we're here, going through our recruitment plan. So let's have a look at creating accurate and compelling job descriptions. This is the first step in actually screening somebody to find out whether they are right for your company. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we have an interview checklist, a rigid way of keeping things consistent. So your job description and interview checklist is a crucial part of creating a compelling job description. It involves clearly defining the key responsibilities and qualifications for the role. The responsibilities should provide a detailed overview of what the job entails on a day-to-day basis. This includes the tasks the employees will be expected to perform, the goals they're expected to achieve, and how the role contributes to the larger objectives of the organization, to your goals, to your mission, to your purpose. The description should outline the qualifications required for your role. This includes necessary skills, education, experience, and any specific certifications and licenses. Make sure that you differentiate as well between the required and preferred qualifications so that you do attract a broader range of applications. Now, when we're talking about job descriptions and our interview checklist and our expectations, in our templates, we have given you both job descriptions and expectations. They are very similar. Job descriptions is a which is a prior element, and expectations are a post, but they're essentially laid out the same. You may need to copy the expectations and have those more specifically directed to job descriptions, but it's the same template. And then obviously the interview checklist is where we are working out whether people are a suitable fit to our job descriptions and expectations. So everything's templated for you there in the blueprint. Now, emphasizing company culture and values is super important as well with the job description. And they should not only focus on the role itself, but also provide insight into the company's culture and values. You want to make sure that you are hiring people not just because they are great operators or great technicians, but because they fit with the way you want your company to look, feel, and operate. So by communicating what the company stands for and what it's like to work there, you can attract candidates who align with these values and are likely to thrive in your work environment. So if you're somebody who is drinking beers every day and really likes that element of your company, then it wouldn't be advisable to hire someone who is, say, highly religious, that wasn't quite into that kind of embracing of alcohol. And I suppose the inverse conversations to be had as well. If you are quite religiously valued, then it probably wouldn't be a good idea to hire somebody who is looking to drink beers every day, because you guys wouldn't be in alignment. So something to consider there when you're not just interviewing somebody for their qualification, whether you're interviewing them based off of just the fact that they're a third year or a fourth year. You want to be thinking about how do they actually fit as a person within your company. And it might include some information, or you might want to include some information about your company's mission. You might be able to sell them on the dream. There might be some work-life balance elements that you have going on, whether you do 4-day working weeks, whether you do, time in lieu, Fridays off, whether you do RDOs, that kind of thing. There's also some diversity and inclusion efforts and opportunities for growth and development as well. All great things that you might want to include. Now, the best practices for screening and interviewing candidates, these are the things that you really want to look for. So when you're screening resumes and cover letters, you want to pay attention to the relevant work experience, skills, and qualifications that align with your job description. You want to be wary of unexplained employment gaps, frequent job changes, or a history of jobs that do not progressively increase in responsibility. It's also crucial to ensure that the candidate's objectives align with the role you're offering. There's behavioral questions. Behavioral questions focus on past experiences and actions. So, for example, tell me a time when you had to handle a difficult client, and let them answer that question for you. That's a behavioral style question. You can also have some situational style questions in there as well, which could be presented in the example of how would you handle a situation where you had to meet a tight deadline, or how would you handle a situation where. So there's a couple different styles of questions that you can use there to spark your interview checklist and for your screening of candidates. Now, when you're conducting reference and background checks, I highly recommend you do this. So there's a couple points here, but let's just touch on the fact that if you're not screening people, if you're not conducting their background checks, then you're pretty much basing it off of a piece of paper of lies. That's generally what a resume and cover letter are, in my opinion. I've hired and removed from our company, let's say I would say about 500 people over the past 5 years. I think it's very, very important for you to speak to somebody else who's in a position like yourself as an employer, to have a quick conversation about how that person would fit into your company. So conducting reference and background checks are an essential part of the hiring process. It not only verifies information provided by the candidate on their resume, but also provide insights into their work ethic, their reliability, and their suitability for the role. When you contact references, ask specific questions about the candidate's job performance, strengths, weaknesses, how they handle challenges. When you're on background checks, on the other hand, you can provide information about the candidate's criminal history, credit checks, and any other relevant details. Those things aren't quite as specific. However, if you are working with DCSI clearances, if you are working in schools, those kind of things, then it's probably important to have a criminal history check. You can request from the applicant to provide that. And you want to be sure to comply with all relevant privacy and employment laws when conducting these checks as well. So there's a few little elements that I'm not able to advise you on there, but just be quite gentle when you're asking questions. And making the final hiring decision and extending job offers. So this is how to seal the deal. In the final hiring decision, you should take into account not just the candidate's qualifications, but also their cultural fit and their potential growth within the company. Their potential refers to the candidate's ability to take larger roles and responsibilities in the future. Consider all these factors holistically when making your decision. And when preparing a job offer, it's important to ensure that the compensation package is competitive and it's up to standard with the candidate's qualifications and experience. Remember, a competitive job offer can help attract more talent and reduce your turnover as well. So it's not just about paying people minimum wage and getting them to do the bare minimums. If you want a good person on your team, sometimes you will have to pay for them, and sometimes you will have to entice them to join your company as well. However, it is important to note that having a strong brand, doing desirable work, having great leadership, having fun people, and an exciting culture and a high-performance culture are things that will entice people to join your team and to stay as well. So it's not just about the dollars. It's not just about how you can pay somebody. Now, communicating the job offer and negotiating the terms. So once a job offer is prepared, you want to communicate it to the candidate in clear and professional manner. This can be done in a phone call, it can be done in a formal letter, you could even do it in an email, but you want to be prepared for the candidate to negotiate the terms of the offer. So you want to be slightly flexible within this. They may request a higher salary, more benefits, or other adjustments. You're going to have to handle these negotiations with openness and fairness, and try and get to a decision that everybody agrees on, because we need to look at the whole process of how good is the person, how much are they suited. There's also some tactics that you can employ here as well, based on if-then scenarios. So if they come back and negotiate, let's just say higher salary, it's a really easy one to talk about. They want a 10% increase in the asking salary. You could come back to them and say, okay, well, as a result of a 10% increase in salary, you're going to provide them with a 10% increase in the expectations that you need from them. So if they do want to get paid more than everybody else or than the normal position, then you can request that they do a 10% extra or a 20% extra, depending on how you can actually measure that. And then once the terms are agreed upon, have the candidate sign the letter of offer and formalize that agreement. You want to make sure that you are trying to follow these almost like corporate style things. That way you've always got a record of it. When they say, no, that's not right, you can say, yes, you signed your expectations. This is exactly what you acknowledged at the start of your employment. And that's it. We went pretty deep in there, but you know how to, you know the system to hire the right people. You can create job descriptions and expectations. You can screen and interview candidates, and you can make the final hiring decision and do a bit of negotiation there to get that right person on board as well.